Welcome back to another MOTOBOB video. Now, I'm by no means an expert when it comes to off-roading. In fact, I'm pretty bad. But I love to have a go when I get the chance, and so when Yamaha invited me to test out the new WR250F at Rogers Hill Raceway, then of course I was happy to oblige. So this isn't going to be like an expert review. There were plenty of other people there who were much better riders than me. Definitely check out their videos and articles and whatnot, but if you are thinking of dabbling in off-roading or easy enduro, or you fancy something a bit more nimble and manageable than a big adventure bike so you can start improving your off-road skills, then definitely watch on. First up, this is a pretty light bike, certainly light if you're used to riding road bikes. 115 kilograms wet feels like absolutely nothing. Now, of course, you could argue that it's true of many other dirt bikes of this stature, but Yamaha have done quite a bit of work here on what they call mass centralization. Basically, they've tried to keep the weight of the bike close together, and that leads to better agility and better maneuverability, both of which are great obviously if you're new to riding off-road. Stuff like the engine layout, so you'll get a forward-facing intake and a rear exit exhaust which wraps around. The cylinder is slanted a little to the rear, the position of the fuel tank, all of this stuff contributes, and like I say, I'm no connoisseur of enduro bikes, but to me it felt very easy to get on with. Not only was I able to navigate some trails and loops that I didn't think I'd be able to, but I felt way more confident doing it than I ought to. The other thing when you're new to this sort of riding is you're definitely going to be having quite a lot of spills. Let's have another look at the one I showed you in the intro. I actually scratched my GoPro lens doing that. It's the Max Lens mod. It's like a little fisheye looking thing, and yeah, that particular drop cost me 90 quid. But yeah, you have to get used to picking the bike up, and at this weight it felt totally manageable for me. Now, it uses an aluminium twin beam frame, and that's made with their CF die casting technique that allows them to vary the thickness of the walls and tune it for rigidity and flex in the right places. Just like some of their road bikes actually, I think the MT09 uses the same technique. Suspension is top notch too, so fully adjustable KYB forks. The shock is from KYB2, and there's plenty of travel, so 310mm at the front and 317 at the rear. That helps with plenty of ground clearance too, and I guess for a newbie, it does make it pretty tall. It's got a 955mm seat height, which just sounds massive if you're not used to this type of bike. But in reality, the seat is so slim that even at 5'9", I found it pretty manageable, as long as you get over to one side when you want to stop. As for the engine, it's a 4-stroke 250 single, and a lot of the stuff on this bike is derived from their WZ250F race bike, and then tailored and tamed a bit for enduro riding. So there's a new cylinder head, exhaust camshaft, and intake port and joint, which are all inherited from the YZ. Now look, bikes like this only make about 30 odd horsepower, and that's when you really rev them up. It doesn't sound like a lot, but trust me, when you get on the throttle, things start moving past you pretty quickly. The emphasis really is on like a wide usable spread of torque, and of course that always lends itself to less experienced riders because you don't really have to concentrate so much on what gear you're in, and that leaves you to concentrate on staying upright. Now, you've got a 6-speed gearbox on this bike, which is enduro specific. The WR in the name stands for wide ratio, but even so, first gear did feel a bit lively for me, so keeping it in second for a lot of the day, and then just dipping the clutch when you're going slow to keep the revs up a little. And yeah, it was very easy to get on with. A nice light clutch, didn't have any issues with that, even though we did a whole day's riding. And when you do need to use the gears, the box felt nice and precise. Could be partly down to a new shift cam for this year. Now, the other nice thing about this bike is you get a 2-map mode button up on the bars there. So out of the box, mode 1 is a little more lively, whereas mode 2 is more sedate. It's pretty ideal if you're new to off-roading because, yeah, you always want the option to get full power. But when it does get a little more tight and technical and you might be worried about throttle control, then Mode 2 really does take the edge off and makes it just that bit more approachable. On top of that, there's a smartphone app that connects with the bike and you can play with the settings, so fuel injection and ignition timing, and that allows you to get it dialed in for the particular track you're riding at or the surface and the weather conditions. Honestly, it's a bit out of my remit. I didn't really play with it, but a nice feature if you're a more advanced rider or if you're into that techie stuff, and it does give you race logs and engine diagnostics and a few other bits. Probably far more relevant to me is some decent tires and therefore grip. Now, of course, on a bike like this, you get a 21-inch front and an 18 rear. And on this bike, they're shod with Dunlop's Geomax EN91, so enduro-specific tires. Super grippy and knobbly with lots of biting edges. Now, the problem for crappy riders like me is that in these sorts of conditions, the tires clog up with mud. It was a bit wet and sticky, and so you do need a bit of speed occasionally to clear them out. We did some stubble though, some motocross tracks, some tight stuff through the woods and a bit across fields, and any of it really. I was the limitation, not the tires. Now onto the brakes, and again this front brake setup is derived from the YZ, so the whole bike is much closer to a motocross bike than previous generations, and seeing some of the pros take it around the track, you could really see just how capable it was. For 2022 there's a 30% more rigid front caliper, larger diameter 25.4mm pistons, and a new 270mm front disc. They've given it fresh pads as well with 25% more surface area. And I guess you might be thinking as a sort of like off-road novice that this all sounds a bit much, but I actually found they weren't too sharp or grabby at all. Look, there's masses of power both front and rear if you really need it, but not too much to handle. In fact, the whole thing was really easy to get on with. You've got a good, simple, clear dash. It does have a race mode, but the regular layout has everything you need for casual riding. You've got an electric start, a decent 7.9 litre tank, and yeah, generally on these press launches, you're pretty well looked after, as are the bikes, but I didn't have a single issue with it all day. I think it's worth adding as well that it does look pretty smart. I don't think this is a category of bike where the visual design varies massively between manufacturers apart from the colors, but that's probably because it's not a major selling point for most enduro riders. Even so, in Yamaha's Icon Blue, they've got it on the rims as well for this year with the gold anodized forks and that nice tall stance. It definitely looks the business. As for the price, we're talking £7,799, which, you know, no small sum, but when you do your research against other options on the market, yeah, it doesn't look too bad. I mean, the KTM, you know, the rough equivalent is about 1,500 quid more. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts about it, as well as any questions down in the comments below. And if you're new here and you want to see more videos like this, hit subscribe and I'll see you next time.